Imagine you're alone in an Australian forest. Suddenly, a chainsaw ripping through wood nearby. Then a camera shutter clicking over and over again. A car alarm, a crying baby, another bird screaming. You spin around. No machinery, no humans, nothing. Just one bird, right there, watching you, completely calm. That bird made every single one of those sounds. All of them, perfectly, on purpose, to control its world. This is the superb lyrebird, and it changes everything. When most people think mimicry, they think parrots. Wrong. Parrots copy words. Mockingbirds copy nearby bird songs. What the lyrebird does operates on a completely different plane. It doesn't copy sounds, it constructs a completely fake reality, using stolen sound as a weapon, a trap, a mask. By the end, you'll never look at birds the same way. The superb lyrebird lives in southeastern Australia, deep in rainforests, mountain gullies, dense eucalyptus ranges. It's roughly the size of a large rooster, ground-dwelling, scratches the ground for insects, worms, and grubs all day. Nothing about it screams special, until you see the male's tail. The male's tail is one of nature's most absurd masterpieces. Two outer feathers curve up like the arms of an ancient lyre. Between them, layers of impossibly intricate, lacy inner feathers. This tail takes 7 full years to completely grow in. 7 years growing the most expensive dating profile in nature. But the tail is just the billboard. The voice is the product, because this bird has no original voice of its own. There is no lyrebird song, no original melody. None exists. Every note it has ever sung, 100% stolen from its environment. Not approximately stolen, identically, flawlessly, exactly reproduced. Scientists played lyrebird recordings to expert ornithologists blind, experts with over 20 years of studying bird calls professionally. They could not determine which recording was the real bird, couldn't tell which was real. These were the experts. Drop a like right now, and this is barely the beginning. Comment below, what's the wildest sound a lyrebird could copy? Because in 2 minutes, you'll have a very different answer. So how does any living creature produce sounds this precise? Birds produce sound using an organ called the syrinx. Think of it as the bird's version of a human voice box. Your voice box sits right here, at the top of your airway. One channel, one voice at a time. That's the human limit. The lyrebird's syrinx sits much deeper, inside the chest, right where the 2 bronchial tubes from each lung split apart. And this position changes everything. Here's exactly why. A typical bird controls its syrinx with just 2 muscles. The lyrebird controls its syrinx with 4 independent pairs, 8 muscles, all firing simultaneously, in perfect coordination. And here's the key. Each side of the syrinx runs independently. Left side, right side. 2 separate voices, simultaneously. It can sing 2 completely different birds at the exact same time. 1 bird, 1 beak, 2 full songs, 0 effort required. Not layered on top. 2 fully independent audio channels, separate, like 2 separate vocal cords living inside one single throat. It doesn't just match the pitch, it matches the exact texture, the rhythm, the attack of each note, the decay, everything. Every micro detail matched, not approximately, identically. Scientists used spectrogram analysis to compare them objectively. Spectrograms, visual fingerprints of a sound's exact frequency structure. 2 spectrograms, real animal and lyrebird, visually indistinguishable. The scientists triple-checked. They thought their equipment had failed. Equipment was perfect. The lyrebird was simply that exceptional. But what exactly does it choose to steal? Let's go there. Lyrebirds absorb every sound their environment produces. All of it. They start as chicks, listening obsessively to older males sing. Native birds first. Then, the human world started arriving, and the lyrebird simply extended its library, without hesitation. Kookaburras, whipbirds, pilot birds, wrens, currawongs, all of them. It can reproduce a kookaburra's full laughing call, note for note, then instantly switch to a whipbird's sharp, explosive crack. No warm-up, 0 transition, instantaneous, flawless switching. Now, the clip that left David Attenborough visibly speechless. A wild lyrebird, filmed near an active logging site in Australia. It opened its beak. The film crew heard a running chainsaw. Not kind of sounds like a chainsaw. An actual chainsaw. The acoustic recording, perfect, down to the engine's exact revving pattern. Subscribe right now, because it gets exponentially darker from here. We're getting into the manipulation, the dark weaponized chapter. Camera shutters, car alarms, power drills, crying babies confirmed. Yes, a captive lyrebird specifically learned to mimic a crying baby and reproduced it alone in the middle of a dense forest. I have to take 1 second. This bird is completely unhinged. It is operating completely outside the known rules of animal behavior. And we haven't even opened the manipulation chapter yet. In the wild, lyrebirds aren't showing off. They're strategizing. Stolen sounds become actual psychological weapons in real conflicts. Every bird species has an alarm call. It means predator, run now. These alarm calls are hardwired. The response is completely involuntary. The lyrebird has memorized every species' alarm call in its territory, every panic sound, every species' fear frequency, cataloged, stored. When it needs the forest to itself, it deploys them all at once. 5 different species alarm calls, simultaneously, from one bird. The forest empties completely. Every other bird, gone in seconds. Room cleared. Using entirely borrowed voices, 0 original sound. But mating season is where it gets fully, completely dark. Male lyrebirds construct a display mound, a dedicated stage. They dance, they sing, they fan that extraordinary tail completely open. Females watch, they evaluate carefully, and then they try to leave, because mating costs the female enormously. She does everything alone. She builds the nest, incubates the egg, raises the chick completely solo. So she needs to be absolutely certain her mate is genuinely worth it. Sometimes he doesn't pass. She turns away, starts walking. And this is where the lyrebird does something truly unforgivable. He fires a predator alarm call, her species' specific hawk alarm, the alarm that means hawk, overhead, do not move, do not breathe. She freezes because her biology gives her absolutely no other choice. And the male keeps dancing, keeps singing, forces the extra time, using her own survival instincts as the cage that holds her still. There is no hawk, no danger. He manufactured the entire threat. Researchers at Australian National University filmed this directly. Multiple males, multiple females, same behavior, every single time. This is not instinct. This is deliberate, premeditated, calculated deception. The female eventually realizes, and she leaves anyway, eventually, but not before the male gained critically important extra display time. Now, this is where the story becomes something completely different, something that left scientists genuinely shaken, not impressed, shaken. Australia cleared enormous sections of its native forests, decades of logging. Dozens of bird species disappeared from those cleared regions, silenced, gone from those landscapes for 50, 60, 70 plus years, silent. Then, biologists started listening to the local lyrebirds and froze. The lyrebirds were singing bird calls, old ones, extinct ones, songs belonging to species that hadn't physically existed there in decades. The lyrebirds had memorized them and kept singing them for generations, not metaphorically, biologically. Song passed from parent to offspring, like a living hard drive for sounds the world has already forgotten. Now meet the most extraordinary documented case of all of this. Healesville Sanctuary, Victoria, Australia, 1930s and 1940s. A captive male lyrebird, a flute-playing zookeeper, years of proximity. I need you to sit with this next part. It's genuinely incredible. That lyrebird learned the flute melody perfectly, then was released. He sang that flute song in the wild Australian bush, alone. He taught it to his offspring, who taught it to their offspring. 35 years later, biologists heard flute music in that forest. No zookeeper, no flute player, no human anywhere near that forest. Just lyrebirds, still carrying a dead man's melody. Decades later, a bird preserving a human's music long after the human was gone. Now scientists are doing something no one ever expected to do, using lyrebird songs to reconstruct what lost ecosystems once sounded like. Ecologists call it acoustic ecology. The lyrebird is its greatest tool. The bird with no voice became the only voice of the lost world. And we haven't even covered the final piece, the one that completes it all. Here is the philosophical weight of everything we just covered. Every animal on Earth has a biological identity, a voice, a signal. That identity is hardwired, fixed at birth, non-negotiable, permanent. Then there is the lyrebird, which was born with none of that. No fixed call, no assigned identity, No hardwired song, nothing. It chose to become everything around it instead of one thing. Think about that for 1 second. Genuinely think about it. It built its entire identity from what it was listening to. And now it's the most sophisticated sound maker in vertebrate evolution. No original voice, the richest voice in the animal kingdom. Fires stolen alarm calls to clear territories it never earned by combat. Traps potential mates using their own biological fear response against them. Preserves extinct voices no living creature remembers anymore, accidentally. And carries a dead man's flute song through an entire forest. Still, one animal doing all of that with nothing but sound. This is why the lyrebird is on Australia's 10-cent coin. They know. Next time you hear something in the Australian bush, stop, listen twice, subscribe, because the next animal makes the lyrebird look completely ordinary.